Good morning, everyone. My name is Natasha Purba with my last name 057 from class 4C. In this video, I would like to explain the concept and application of quadratic equation and function. In Indonesian, a quadratic equation is called persamaan kuadrat, while a quadratic function is called fungsi kuadrat. A quadratic equation is an equation in which the highest power of the variable is 2. The general form of a quadratic equation is, we read this expression as ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a, b, and c are constants and a is not equal to 0. In Indonesian, we can say ax kuadrat ditambah bx ditambah c sama dengan 0. For example, we read this as x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0. Now, I will solve this quadratic equation using the factoring method. First, we factor the equation. It becomes, we read this as x minus 2 times x minus 3 equals 0. Therefore, or like this. So, or the solutions of the quadratic equation are x equals 2 and x equals 3. In Indonesian, we say penyelesaian dari persamaan kuadrat tersebut adalah x sama dengan 2 atau x sama dengan 3. Next, I will explain the quadratic function. The general form of a quadratic function is, we read this as of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c. The curve of a quadratic function is called a parabola. If the value of a is positive, the parabola opens upward. If the value of a is negative, the parabola opens downward. For example, we read this as f of x equals x squared. The curve of this function is a parabola that opens upward. Quadratic equations and functions also have many applications in real life. For example, they can be used to describe the motion of an object. Imagine a ball is thrown into the air. The height of the ball can be represented by a quadratic function. For example, we read these expressions as h of t equals negative 5t squared plus t 20t. In this function, h represents the height of the ball and t represents time. Because the coefficient of t squared is negative, the paragraph opens downward. This means the ball moves upward, reaches its maximum height, and then moves downward. From this example, we can see that quadratic equations and functions are useful for solving mathematical and real-life problems. In conclusion, a quadratic equation is an equation with the highest power of 2. A quadratic function can be represented by a parabola. Quadratic equations and functions are useful in mathematics and real-life applications, especially for describing the motion of objects. Thank you for watching my video. I hope this explanation is useful. See you next time.